All right, here we go, party people. We are kicking it off, and we will begin here. Here we go. All right, so upcoming Tuesday's agenda this morning. What do we got coming? We have a handful of people still to celebrate who capped in the month of March. We have a great resource. Shout out to Tim Knuth, who connected us with a financial planner. His name is Matthew Shoemaker, who is going to jump on to help us understand the financial resources that are available to 1099s and real estate agents through the CARES Act. Bold coach Robert Camacho is going to jump on with us live as well to share with us some bold pivot details and go through a mindset exercise. Kimmy will provide some compliance updates, Lindsay with some tech. I'll review the language of real estate lore and awards with Diana. I also have some market industry insights. Amanda is going to share some stuff on structure and accountability. And what does that look like? A very simple system to follow during these times. And then Mandy's going to round it out with some training and education. Cool. So, handful of people to celebrate. As a follow-up from last week, just to split the groups up a little bit. But the first person, quite frankly, got many of us into this business, gives back extraordinarily, not only to our industry, but in the community as well. Katie Falk, congratulations for capping in the month of March. Next up, this person started about a year and a half ago, is a part of Bradley & Co. Phenomenal mother, always brings her daughters into the office, kind of teaching her the ropes, but has learned the business the right way. Jill Fink, congrats on capping in the month of March. Next person, also newer to the business, Molly Gallagher's sister, super excited for Lauren Foy and her capping in the month of March, and also balancing, being a mother with 4 kids at home. So Lauren Foy, congrats on capping in the month of March. And then next, Holly Gamblin, congrats on capping in the month of March. Also a mother of 3 kids, balancing this business at a high level, a super integral part of the JSG team. Always positive, always smiling, always just great energy. So Holly Gamblin, congrats on capping in the month of March. And then next up, part of the family, Sarah Hansen, congrats on capping in the month of March, doing your business, moving here from Baltimore, Maryland, and restarting in the Milwaukee area. Congratulations on capping in the month of March. Next one, ironically, these are all in alphabetical order. But the next person, also another family member, beware of what you put on social media. Here is Martha Ola's senior year picture from 1983, Dominican High School. Congrats on capping in the month of March. And then the next person, phenomenal resource for all of us, thinks very, very much at a high level. I appreciate his friendship and appreciate the insight that he provides. Rick Reuven, congrats on capping in the month of March. And then last person we're celebrating today, if she is not in your life, quite frankly, she should be. She is a real confidant for me, a great person to bounce ideas off of, very, very stable, been in leadership across many, many industries. Kathy Shaw, on voting day, congrats on capping in the month of March. Cool. Congrats, cappers. Be on the lookout for more people to celebrate next week. But congrats to everybody who was able to cap in the month of March. And congrats on the 30% raise. Cool. All right, I'm turning it over to Matthew Shoemaker from Pinnacle Financial, calling in, I believe, from Denver, Colorado. So Matthew, are you on?
I am on. Really appreciate the time with you guys today. That was awesome. I'm here just to provide a quick update on COVID-19, the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Securities Act, and what the opportunities are for those who are sole proprietors, 1099s, out there right now, any independent contractors, and realtors definitely fall into this group. And so I don't know, I'm sure some of you have been speaking to your accountants about this. A lot of accountants have been taking some of the leads and getting information out there for people. This is just a 10,000 bird's eye view of what's available in the program. If anyone does want to learn more, you can feel free to reach out to either myself or Charlie for the webinar invite. My team is putting on a webinar tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to have accountants and attorneys on there talking about the CARES Act. We're going to have commercial lending specialists on there and HR specialists. But quickly in this program is there's two pieces you can take advantage of as realtors, as 1099s. Number one is the Paycheck Protection Program. That is available to 1099s. You yourself are your own payroll. And so essentially, when applying for this program, you are asking to pay your salary over the last year. In order to make those calculations, they use your Schedule C on your taxes. So if you, one thing right now is, as we all know, is taxes have been bumped back to July 15th. However, if your accountant has not filed these last year's taxes because of the extended deadline on taxes, and you had a monster year last year, might be a good time to get those done right away, because you can use that last year's income up to $100,000 to get some Paycheck Protection Program funds for yourself. Within these funds, if you use 75% of those funds for payroll, which essentially is paying yourself, they are forgiven. So you don't have to pay those back. Any funds that are used outside of payroll, so you can use these funds to pay rent, utilities. You could use these funds to pay your own staff. So if you have hired a team and you are paying people, you can use these those funds for that. These funds can also be used or qualified to be used for retirement plan funding, health insurance benefits, paid sick leave, vacation pay, anything along those lines. So there's a lot of opportunity in here to not only use these funds for your business and have them be forgiven, but also to grow your business. If you've been thinking about hiring somebody, now's a good time to do it. Get these funds, have the government pay their salary right now for the next 2 weeks. If you do not use these funds for payroll, there's a 6-month forbearance on them. And then in 6 months, you will start to pay these funds back, and there is a 1% interest rate on it. So if you can find anywhere in the market to go that has a better than a 1% interest rate on it, do so. These are typically, this is a great, great program. The Paycheck Protection Program, in order to apply for the funds, the SBA has decided to run them through the banks. So you got to go to your banking relationship to get these funds, and the bank has to have an SBA relationship. Not all banks are offering this. A couple things, if you're using a credit union as your bank, it might be a good idea to start thinking about a business planning bank for your business for those relationships. Contact your commercial lending consultants and loan officers and ask them right now. We'll be talking a little bit about this tomorrow for those that are interested, but they're going to be a good resource for what lending institutions are accepting new clients and accepting Paycheck Protection Program applications as well. I can tell you right now, Kabbage is also accepting new clients and Paycheck Protection Program applications as well within that. But you got to go through your bank on this. The other one, which is done through the SBA website, and I put the link up there for everybody, is that's the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. That is a 3.75% loan up to $2 million that you can take advantage of. The nice thing about it is if you do have employees, you yourself count as an employee, but they do forward you a grant. It's $1,000 per employee up to $10,000, and that grant is completely forgivable. You don't have to pay that back. And then anything above and beyond that $10,000 that you want for your business. You can't double dip on them, so you can't use EIDL, EIDL funds to pay your payroll and use Paycheck Protection Program funds to pay your payroll. You can apply to both of them. So what I always say is right now is a really good time to start thinking about the vision of your practice, where you're growing and how you want to grow. You can use EIDL funds for marketing. You can use them to start, investing in your business in a way that you've always wanted to, but you haven't maybe had the funds to do so. You can use the Paycheck Protection Program to start hiring people, to start implementing group health insurance, 401ks, any type of benefits for yourself. If you've been, if you want to get into real estate and you've been thinking about, solo 401k real estate trusts and things like that. These are good opportunities to take advantage of these funds. The money's available to 1099 sole proprietors. It's essentially close to free money. So if anyone wants more details on that, like I said, we've got our webinar tomorrow. My contact info is on here. Feel free to reach out to me for the registration link on that. Charlie also has that. Feel free, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me as well on that. When putting in your information, it's going to ask you for your gross revenue. That is your gross sales. That's your gross revenue. So that's the gross commissions you did. It's then going to ask you for the cost of goods of those sales. And the cost of goods is essentially the difference of what you brought in commissions and what and what you actually received. So Keller Williams overhead that you pay in there is going to be the cost of goods sold. And so those are going to be the two pieces you'll want to remember on that. But the SBA loan's really easy to apply. The website, they've done a great job on it. It's kind of like the Uber app. It's very intuitive. Also for 1099s and sole proprietors, there is unemployment availability right now. They have increased it by up to $600 per week. That is done through the individual states' websites. You can still work and collect unemployment to a degree. Some of that is kind of gray area. We don't have a lot of clients that engage in that, but I did include the link on there that will help provide some guidance there if there's some people that are newer into the industry, don't really have any ramp up right now, and are looking for some extra money on a weekly basis. So I told Charlie that I would make sure that I was done by 10:15 here. So that's what I've got for you guys. If you have any other questions, my email address is on there, or feel free to request a link to the webinar tomorrow at 4 p.m. There's going to be a lot of great stuff on there. It's a business planning panel seminar.
Cool. Thanks, Matthew, for jumping on. I will make sure I send out to the group the link to his 4 p.m. webinar. Guys, I highly, highly recommend you take advantage of at least one of the 3 programs that he talked about today, whether it's Paycheck Protection Program, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, or unemployment. It's great low-cost money right now that the government is giving you, as well as there is some forbiddance in terms of payback and various other things. It's free money, essentially. I mean, 1% is the equivalent of free money. So highly, highly recommend that you take a look at it. And I will make sure to send out the link to his webinar for tomorrow at 4 p.m. So Matthew, thanks for jumping on. Cool.
Hey, thank you, guys.
All right. Robert Camacho, you're on, buddy. Let's go.
Good morning. How is everybody? I recognize so many names and see so many faces. It is so cool. So I want to get into something really quick. Just something we're sharing with folks. I'm going to share my screen here real quick, if that's okay, Charlie.
Yep.
And just take some notes. I'm going to just share my whiteboard here. All right. So I've got my whiteboard here. So here's what I'd like you to do is I want you to draw a circle. Real quick. Draw a circle right there. And at the top, we're going to put this, what we're going to call this first circle is what matters. What matters to you? What matters to you? Okay, so in that circle, we're going to write down all of the things that matter to us in our life. For a lot of us, you know, we're thinking if you started putting everything that matters into your circle, you'd probably start with your family. You'd probably put finances, health, faith would be in there, you know, all kinds of different things. And yet those are usually the big ones that we see falling in that what matters bucket. They're very important to us, and it doesn't matter the situation, whether we're in COVID or not, it doesn't matter. That is what matters. So next to this, what I'd like you to do is draw another circle and overlap that first one a little bit. Overlap that one. And we're going to title this second circle, we're going to title this control. We're going to title that control. So we have what matters in one side, and then we've got control on the second side. And right now, there's a lot of stuff we don't control. So let's think about that. From a health perspective, if we're thinking health, there's folks walking around with no masks, no gloves, they're sneezing, they're coughing, they're doing everything that we're been advised not to do, and yet we can't control them. However, we can control exactly what we do. right? We can control whether we choose to stay home, for one thing. We can control whether we choose to wash our hands. There are so many things about this COVID-19 thing that we can actually control if we make the choice and we decide to do that. How about our family? You know, some people right now are at home and it's the worst time ever because they have made the decision that this whole COVID thing just stinks. It's horrible. It's the worst thing ever. And so when their kids do a look back 10 years from now, the kids are going to remember this whole COVID thing is, oh my God, mom and dad were always in a bad mood. Things were so stressful. It was horrible. No school. It was horrible. And they're going to look back 10 years from now. And then there's going to be other kids who are going to look back at this and say, wow, I don't remember a whole lot about that COVID thing. All I know is we had a lot of family meals around the table. We played a lot of basketball. We went on a lot of walks. It was fun. We played games. Mom and dad were home all the time. It was the best time ever. So even though there's a lot of things in our life right now we cannot control, there are always things we can control. So from a family perspective, which way do you want it to look like? Do you want it to be it stunk, it was a horrible thing, or is it going to be like the best time ever, right? What about faith? There's a lot of things we can do there. We can't control a lot that goes on in the world. We can control how much we're getting into our faith or a higher power, whatever it is you believe in. And of course, the last one here on money. You know, we can't control what our clients say, do, or think. And yet we can control 100% what we think, the actions that we take, and everything that we're focused on. So when it comes to control, we have this whole big box right here that there is nothing that we can do about that. We don't know what the government's going to do. We don't know what our clients are going to do. There's so many unknowns right now, and we have no control over that. And yet here's where we should focus. Right in the middle. This is our focus, because where there's overlap in this dark shaded area, this is everything we control. And when we're looking at our days today, instead of focus on the things that we have no control over, we can focus on the fact that we have a telephone at home. And guess what? Most of our clients, most of our sphere of influence is also at home. They are just yearning to talk to somebody. So we get on the phone and we make those care calls, the 3 C's, care, compassion, and then of course, common sense. We make those calls and we position ourselves to have an amazing time when this whole thing blows over and we are done from it. So we get the choice. Are we going to focus on the things we can't control, or are we going to focus on the things we can control for those things that matter in our life? So when we're talking about this control, that's what we're talking about. So I'm going to stop the screen share here because I want to go back. So what is something that we can control? We can control right now what we're going to do with our mind, the actions that we're going to take. And that leads me right now to Bold Pivot. I want to share a little bit about Bold Pivot and what we're doing in Bold Pivot. If you've taken Bold 2.0, it is not Bold 2.0. It is Bold 2.0 with Shift, with all the new KW research, with new scripts, with new dialogues. It is all about the market of the moment. And there's 4 things that we're going to cover at a high level in Bold Pivot. Number 1, it's about waking up and pay attention. Make no mistake, where we are. Don't let how you feel about the situation dictate what you do about it. You know, when you're dealing with less, we've got to do more. And this isn't a choice. It's really imperative for us to double down on our lead generation. Now, although it sounds trite, what is still true is that tough times call for tough-minded people. In normal times, a rising tide, it lifts all boats. And when the tides recede, only the boats that responded appropriately will stay in the game for the long term. Everybody else is going to be grounded. So that's number 1, is wake up and pay attention. The second point we're going to cover is to learn to live on less. There's an old saying that says, a penny saved is a penny earned. And this applies to dollars too. And when a shift happens, it really pays attention to understand that the first dollar you make is that first dollar that you don't spend. You're going to have that next month and the next month. And the way to do this is to lower your expenses. I trust we've all gone through that exercise already, where you're grabbing 3 months of your bank statements and credit card bills and you're saying keep because it's required, eliminate because it's not required, and then there's some stuff in the middle. You got to just figure out how that's going to work best. Bring down our expenses as much as possible. The real power of this pivot is in realizing that reducing your expenses is not a one-time event. Make it a game. Have fun with it for the rest of the year, and don't forget to acknowledge and reward those who help. So that's the second point. Learn to live on less. The third point about our Bold Pivot program is to double down on leads. You're going to dig into your goals and determine how many leads you're going to need in order to achieve them. It's not about changing our goals. It's about changing our activities so that our goals stay on track. And right now, we might need to be calling a whole lot more people than we were just 45 or 60 days ago. So we're going to need more leads. So we've got to double down on the conversation. This is why you do that. The last point in Bold Pivot is to lean into the market of the moment. To succeed in any market, you must understand it. No two markets are the same, which means a solution for one won't necessarily work for another. So take a step back and look around. And I've seen the slide deck that Charlie's put together, and it is amazing. There's really great information about the market. Identify the opportunities in your market today that it has to offer, and realize that every market will explain how you can best work in it and how people can best make it work for them. So those are the points that we're going to be covering in the Bold Pivot. Again, let me go through them real quick. Number one is to wake up and pay attention. Number two, learn to live on less. Number three is to double down on lead generation. And number four is to lean into the market of the moment. So let's talk a little bit real quick about what Bold Pivot is and how as a Bold team, we have actually pivoted. No more, we're not going to have a live event. What we're going to do is Bold Pivot is going to be live streamed, and it's available to every Keller Williams agent. It's available to every recruit. It's available to every vendor. It's available to anybody in your life, in your world, that maybe you want to bring into the Bold experience. Somebody who has a different type of sales business, maybe insurance, maybe more, just bring them in. The cost has been reduced from $799 to $99. For the cost of a dinner out, which I know we can't go out for dinner anymore, you get to have 4 weeks of unbelievable coaching during the month of May. And the way it's going to be structured, it's going to be every Tuesday and Thursday from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, 2 hours from 1 to 3 every Tuesday and Thursday. And some of the added value features for Bold Pivot are going to include a coach's corner. And that's going to be on Wednesdays and Fridays from 1 to 3. And you're going to have an opportunity to go in, pop in, and ask any Bold coach some different questions, the ones that are going to be on those Zooms, and have a dialogue with them. The other thing we've got is a Bold Pivot Facebook page that's a closed Facebook page for only those folks who have registered for Bold Pivot. There's so much content already on there. It's been open now for a week. So you'll definitely want to get there and learn about what some of these other agents all across the country are doing in their market of the moment, so that they can continue moving their businesses. So we don't just survive right now. We're set up to thrive when the market changes. So those are really the key points. We are still having red days, I understand it. So that Thursday session for Bold Pivot is going to slide to Friday from 1 to 3. Those are the key details, and it's mapscoaching.com where you register, and there's a big banner on top. You just click on there and register. So we're looking to have a really great opportunity during the Bold Pivot. All of the Bold coaches are all involved. Some of us are more behind the scenes. Some of us are in front of the camera. It's a team effort, and you're going to get basically the best experience from all 49 Bold coaches. So I trust I stayed within my time here, Charlie. Went pretty fast. You got any questions, any comments, questions, concerns? If not, gosh, I see so many awesome faces. This is so cool. You guys are just a great bunch. All right, that's all I got for Bold Pivot, and just a little bit of mindset and get into action. Focus on what you control for what matters. Y'all have a great day.
Cool. Thank you, Robert.
You bet.
So guys, I will send out the Bold Pivot details in terms of how to register today in the follow-up email, as well as the market insights information that we'll share later on today as well. But I highly, highly encourage, we go through this every fall where we share the details of what Bold does for people and the impact it has on their business, right? And it's hard to argue with the results, that the lift that people see immediately following Bold. I think it's a great time to take advantage of the moment as it relates to Bold Pivot. So be on the lookout for more details for that. Cool. Moving on, I'm going to jump into the language of real estate for LORE. So our LORE report for March just came out last week, Friday. I just finished it up. So I'll share with you this morning what that looks like. So here's what we see so far year to date through the month of March. You can see the Milwaukee Metro MLS is the column in the gray box, and on the right is in the red box is the Keller Williams Milwaukee year to date through March. Again, this is pretty much, I mean, this is through the month of March, right? So when I look at, we'll talk about a little bit in a sec around the market insights, but the market really was not impacted in terms of COVID until about the third week of March. So you can see through the first quarter of the year, not only was the Milwaukee Metro MLS on an unbelievable pace in terms of growth. I mean, 2020 was really setting up to be a phenomenal year, as well as KW Milwaukee, both North Shore and Lake Country were on an incredible pace, taking market share hand over fist. So congrats to this group on doing really great big things in the first quarter. Now, caveat to that is we'll see where the market goes, right? So the other thing I wanted to share with you is I would say that what I'm most proud for this group, or most excited for this group, is the gross commission incomes that were earned in the month of March alone in 2020. When you combine both North Shore and Lake Country as a group, we paid out over $2.4 million in gross commission incomes in the month of March. This represented a 64% increase over to March of 2019. Unbelievable growth in income for this group in the month of March. If you look at this from a year-to-date perspective, right? For March gross commission incomes through the January, February, and March year-to-date, we have paid out over $4.4 million in gross commission incomes earned. This group saw a 38% increase in the income that was taken home so far year-to-date, right? Awesome stuff. Really, really incredible when you look at the income that is being earned by this group. It's phenomenal. And as Robert just talked about for Bold Pivot, is the first dollar earned is the first dollar saved. And not knowing what the summer looks like just yet, I highly, highly recommend that you take a look and making sure that you're saving the incomes that you're earning right now. Cool? Awesome. No, one of the questions was, is this due to Lake Country being added in? That is not the case. If you just separate the two businesses, as I have the reports sitting right in front of me on my desk, right here, Lake Country's gross commission incomes earned were up over 100%. North Shore's gross commission incomes earned were up over 34%. So net, both businesses, both agents in both locations are earning an incredible amount of income, more than they were the prior year. Cool. So jumping into more language of real estate market share reports through year to date through March. Interestingly to note, it has finally happened. So the 5-county metro area brokerage results, you can see here, KW has now passed both RE/MAX and First Weber year to date in terms of taking over the number 2 position within the marketplace. And remind you, this has only happened in the last 5 years. Phenomenal stuff. Congrats to this group on what you're doing so far in 2020. And I would also tell you, very interestingly to note, this is really the top 7 brokers in southeastern Wisconsin. So Shore West, Keller Williams, RE/MAX, First Weber, Realty Executives, Coldwell Banker, right? This group right here represents 65% of the total volume. These 7 brokers represent 65% of the total volume. And 6 of the top 7 were all growing their businesses so far year to date in 2020, which is really phenomenal to see. Again, rising tides lifts all ships. When you look at it by location in terms of what the office trends are by location, Lake Country is up 112%. Southwest is up 46%. And then North Shore is up 47% when you break this down and look at where are our peer groups trending and what does this look like. You can see there's a large cluster of groups of individual locations, and there's 3 that are really separating themselves from the pack. Again, none of this happens without the productivity of this group. So congrats on all of that. Yes, question from the group. Connie asked, will I be sending this out? This will all come in the follow-up email that will come after team meeting. So stay tuned. And then I broke down the North Shore broker trends. So in the North Shore, you can see here what I did within this is I pulled all of Keller Williams just North Shore, right? So KW North Shore, and I compared it against our competitive set within the North Shore. So there's Shore West, Downtown Shorewood, Mequon, Grafton combined. There's Caldwell Banker, Downtown Glendale, Mequon, Cedarburg. There's First Weber, Glendale, and Mequon. Realty Execs, Glendale, and Cedarburg, and Powers, all 3 entities combined. You can see their business trends, just specifically how we compare versus our competitive set across the North Shore. So again, congrats to this group to really taking the charge, taking the lead, and taking market share across 2020. And then I did a similar story as it relates to Lake Country. So the Lake Country broker trends here, you can see across really the top 8 or 9 brokers across the Lake Country marketplace. What's really interesting about the Lake Country market is, unlike the North Shore, where you had some players that were moving up, some players that were moving down, overall there was total growth in the North Shore. If you look at the Lake Country broker trends, everyone is, quite frankly, is having an unbelievable trends right now. You can see First Weber Delafield, the largest player in the Lake Country market, up 11%. And then Realty Execs and Shore West down slightly, and then KW Lake Country up 112%. But again, if you look at these trends, incredible stuff to be proud of as a group and what you guys are doing out in Lake Country against your competitive set within your peers. Really, really unbelievable, phenomenal trends. So congrats to this group. Awesome. Now we're going to jump into March and year-to-date recognition. So we've shared with you some trends. We shared with you the lore, but quite frankly, all of that is made up from everything that you guys do individually. And so we wanted to call a few people out, and I'm going to lead with the Lake Country group. So Diana, I'm passing it over to you.
Awesome. You guys, I'm super excited to share with you the success that our teams have had. The top section here are your $1 Million Month Club. So our individuals, Annie Stabler, you have worked super hard and we've seen it. Congratulations. Catherine Correo, Gallagher Lake Country, Lisa Erdman, Mike Schaefer, new to our group, making this team the first month, making this list the first month, super exciting. Katie Sayers and the Sayers team and Team Trimble, way to go. $1 Million Month Club members. And then March Home Run Club, this is the listing taken, 1 contract written, and 1 contract closed, all within the month of March. Carol Nye, congratulations. Connie Cummings, John Lorenz, Karen Trimble, and Katie Montalbano. You guys are knocking it out of the park and absolutely contribute to our 112% increase out in Lake Country. I couldn't be more grateful to be in business with you. Congratulations. And we want to recognize our individual performers as well. So I'm going to read some numbers here. Our #1 individual performer in March was Catherine Correo. She was $1,626,000. Annie Stabler came in second with $1,361,500, and then Mike Schaefer made #3 at $1,229,000. Now we've got individual achievement year to date. Jen Thornton at $1,702,900. Catherine Correo shows up on this list again at $1,626,000, and Annie Stabler comes in #3 at $1,500. Congratulations, ladies, and Mike leading the pack here. Year to date units: Annie at 5, Carol at 5, and Catherine Correo at 4. Congratulations, everybody. And our team awards: March volume, Team Trimble at 4.8. Gallagher Lake Country at 1.9, and the Sayers team at 1.8. That's your volume in March. Year to date, Gallagher Lake Country, year to date, 11,000,008. Team Trimble 9.9, and the Sayers team at 1.8. Year-to-date units, Team Trimble at 12. You guys are working it. Gallagher Lake Country at 9, and Lavender Group comes in there at 6. So congratulations, you guys. Again, awesome work. Super proud of you. Congratulations.
Cool. And we'll jump over to share some North Shore awards with the group. So March Home Run Club, this is 1 listing taken, 1 contract written, 1 contract closed. A few people I want to call out in single in this group is Deborah Croft, congrats, Alyssa Burkhoff, George and Guy, Heather Townsend, Kendrick Taylor, Simonis, and Will Warren, congrats on 1 listing taken, 1 contract written, 1 contract closed, as well as the rest of the group. In the month of March, here's our $1 million month of March winners. A handful of people I want to call out in this group. Dawn Wabashewski, which I believe had her best month of her career. Congrats. Meg Wright and Tim Knuth really had great months of March, as well as the rest of the group who had $1 million months. Here's a breakdown for individual volume as it relates to individual agents. Again, as I mentioned, Dawn Wabashewski had, quite frankly, what could be a phenomenal year in 1 month at 2.9 million. Meg Wright at 1.9 million. And then Tim Knuth, again, I mentioned before, had a great month as well. Handful of other individual agents I wanted to call out. Kyle Clements, congrats at 770. And Julie Scott, just on a tear in February, follows it up in the month of March with a 748. Congrats. And Lori Folk rounding out the top 10 at 664. And then here you see for the teams, for team volume in the month of March, JSG absolutely setting the pace at 17.5 million in 1 month, people. Congrats to the entire JSG team. SRG coming in number 2 at 10.1, with Falkgrove and Gallagher coming in at 8.1 in the month of March. And I've mentioned his name before, but if you look, Midcoast Realty is Tim Knuth and his wife, Kristen, have absolutely stormed the leaderboard. Looking at the month of March, coming in at 2.7. Congrats to that group. Now, jumping over year-to-date individual units in volume, a couple people I want to call out here is Ina Petrovici. Congrats, 5 units so far year-to-date. And Callie Adler coming on strong right out of the launch program and mentor productivity with 4 units so far year-to-date. And congrats to the rest of the group within the top 10. And then you can see here for individual agents, volume so far year-to-date. Congrats to Dawn leading the pack at 3.2, with Marcus Auerbach right on our heels at 2.5, Schroeder, Molitor, Oberbrunner, Meg Wright, Julie Scott, Tammy, Dave G, and Ina rounding out the top 10. And then transitioning over to year-to-date team units. JSG, quite frankly, if you look at this, this is through the month of March, almost closed a deal a day in the first quarter. Congrats to that entire group. And then if you look, what I love to call out every month is if you look at spots 4 through 10, so Midcoast Realty all the way through Duvall Group, there is an unbelievable battle being waged, right? And if you look here for team volume year to date through the month of March, again, looking at that 4 through 12 spots, 4 through 10 spots, is that group is always neck and neck. And this leaderboard is always changing by month. So congrats to you guys. A few people to call out: Bradley and Company, great start to the year at 4.5 million. Houseworks right there at 4.6 million, and AG Realty Group at 1.9 million, rounding out the top 10. So again, we'll send all of this information out, but congrats guys to a phenomenal start to your first quarter, and really truly a phenomenal March for many, many people within the Keller Williams organization. So congrats. Cool. All right, now I'm going to jump into some market insights for you. What I did too is, again, recognizing I'm trying to boil this down to make it super simple, right? To give you an elevator pitch. So I'll give you the detail, and at the end, well, elevator is probably not the right term right now because no one's really tight quarters in an elevator, but like your grocery store pitch, right? Like I say when I'm checking out at Sendix, and people ask me all the time, how's the market right now? My goal right now is to give you your quick grocery store pitch to your neighbor or friends when they ask you what's going on. So let's dig into the numbers. So industry summary, what I did when I looked at the numbers this week is you got to look at it from a pre-COVID, okay? And when I talk about pre-COVID, it's an 8-week window essentially from January 27th to March 22nd, okay? And when I talk about the COVID impact, right? What is COVID? How is COVID having an impact on our business? There's a very clear point within the data that tells us that COVID is impacting our business. And that's a 3-week window, essentially from March 23rd through April 12th. So the data we're looking at today, I'm going to talk about it pre-COVID and the COVID impact of a 3-week window. And this is how we'll continue to look at the data moving forward as the story it'll tell. So when we look at this as it relates to median price point, right? What is the price insight here? When you look at for sale inventory, right? When you look at the 8 weeks pre-COVID, right? The median average was $195,000 as a median price point of for sale inventory. The last 3 weeks, that median price point is jumped up to 201 of for sale inventory, right? Which it means we've seen a median price increase of the inventory on the market of plus 3.2%, right? Median price of inventory is increasing by 3%. Now, if you look at those homes that are going under contract, pre-COVID, right? The 8-week trend before COVID had an impact, it was 219. In the last 3 weeks, it's jumped to 229. The median price point of homes that are going under contract has increased 4.6% since COVID has an impact on our business. Essentially, COVID has had zero impact on the median price point across the marketplace. Very, very good news for your sellers or for those that are considering selling in the very near future, right? Now, when we look at total inventory across the market, and I'm looking at this across the 5-county metro area, right? Pre-COVID, it was around 6,200 units per week. Last 3 weeks, with the COVID impact, it's been around 6,100 units a week, right? We've only seen a 1.7% reduction in total inventory on the marketplace. Again, total inventory is a big picture, hasn't been impacted. Where we start to see the impact that COVID's had on the marketplace is now. And where that shows up is here within new listings, right? So number of new listing units that have come on the marketplace pre-COVID was around 615. Now with the COVID impact, the last 3 weeks, we're seeing roughly 462 new units a week. That's trending about a quarter or 24% below average new inventory pre-COVID and the COVID impact, the 3 weeks of COVID. Again, as a reminder, this is the equivalent of November, December, and January inventory levels. Yes, this is Waukesha County. So the 5-county metro area is Milwaukee, Racine, Ozaukee, Washington, and Waukesha right here. As it relates to units under contract. So previously we had seen a trend of about 465 units under contract last 3 weeks. It's been about 394 units per contract, at least for the last 3 weeks. You can see here by week. Units under contract has started to stabilize, which is a good news for us. It's not like we're seeing a dramatic fall off of units under contract. However, it's a 15% reduction of units versus our run rate. And we've lost about 71 units per week the last 3 weeks in terms of the impact it's having on units that are going under contract. And then sales absorption. What I realized is last week when I talked about sales absorption, people may not understand exactly what this means. So what is sales absorption? This is essentially the percent of inventory that goes under contract. Okay, so if you look at total inventory on the marketplace, and then you look at the total number of units that go under contract within a given week, that's your sales absorption rate, right? And so when we look at sales absorption on average pre-COVID, last 8 weeks, we had been running at around 7.48% that have gone inventory that's gone under contract. Post-COVID, or I call it the COVID impact, last 3 weeks, we've been at 6.4% of gone under contract. So sales absorption has slowed, only a reduction of 13%. All things considered, that's actually not that bad. If you look at the total inventory that's coming off the marketplace, the fact that it's only slowed 13%, considering all other market factors of new inventory slower coming to the marketplace, that's actually pretty healthy. So, and then as it relates, we've shared this before, but showing time impact within the marketplace here, following this weekly so that we can see when the bell curve starts to go back up. But in the US, we've seen a 63% reduction on buyer activity. And within Wisconsin, we've seen a 45% reduction on buyer activity. So good news is here, yeah, buyer activity is down essentially about 50%, but we're trending better than what the national averages are. So that's kind of where that's at. I'm just going to quick check a few questions. Simonis asked, how has it impacted the days on market? Essentially, it's impacting days on market, but if I were talking to a seller, I would say, listen, days on market, no one's really paying attention to it right now. The only thing that really matters is price, and price is actually appreciating right now. So if homes are taking a little bit longer to sell because of the activity within the marketplace and buyers, there's not as many buyers going out to actually physically see homes and they're looking at them in a different way. But if prices are still appreciating, still totally cool. And I think as an industry, we're getting more attuned to the fact that days on market aren't totally the most relevant statistic to sellers today. I think really the only thing that people, as a seller, if I were worried about, is how is it impacting pricing. So, and then lastly, expired units. We saw a big spike 2 weeks ago, but the latest 3 weeks in terms of the COVID impact, we've seen about 184 units expire per week. It's a 30% increase in expired units. Yet, if you really look at it, we had one blip on the radar where we saw 2 weeks ago where expireds really jumped up. Yet, if you looked at it this most recent week, it dropped down to 175, which if you look across all of these weeks, isn't a major increase in terms of total number of expired units hitting a week. So, when you get asked at the grocery store, how is the market? Here is my goal for you, is to take all this information to give you a 30-second elevator pitch as to how is the market. And here's how it goes, right? Pricing impact, none. It's still very healthy. The median price point of for sale inventory and units under contract are both appreciating. Great news for anybody who's considering selling their home, right? However, overall market activities have slowed significantly, right? So new inventory on the market has slowed considerably, down 24% behind trend. Buyer showings are down significantly, and we remain in a very tight inventory market, okay? So what's the conclusion, or what's your grocery store pitch in all of 5 seconds? Here's how I would pitch it to my clients or people that I'm running into when I see them checking out at Sendix. I say, listen, homes on the market and those that are deciding to sell now are actually indeed selling. Price points remain stable and actually are increasing or appreciating in value, right? Yet the slowdown within the market is simply a function of slowed market activity, right? There's tighter inventory than there has been before. Some people are delaying their selling decisions, and buyer activity as it relates to showings has slowed significantly. So what does this mean? Homes that are on the market are selling. They're selling for prices that are still appreciating as we see average median price points increasing. Yet it's just taking a little bit longer as people are navigating through how do they look at properties that are on the marketplace. So this is my grocery store pitch for you that I will share out to you as a little bit of a role play for you. And I will be able to send this to you later on this morning. So there you are. There's the boiled down pitch of the numbers. All right, Kimmy, you're up.
Okay, good morning, everybody. A few updates to share with you all. First is a COVID-19 update. The WRA updated the showings and inspection safety commitment. So Charlie, if you want to hit the next slide. This came out, they initially came out with this like about 2 weeks ago. The intent is still the same. So the intent with this form is to assist with the Safer at Home order by helping make everyone aware and responsible to take the ordered safety precautions. This also makes clear that real estate licensees are not liable for damages relating to showings or inspections conducted during the pandemic. So this safety commitment can be used in counterparts. So they just updated it to make that a little more clear. So you can, this one copy can be signed by multiple people, while another copy can be signed by one person. Might just be signed by seller and listing agent. You as the buyer's agent could just sign this with your buyers as you're showing them properties. Again, the intent of this is to be flexible. So using this to just set expectations, secure those commitments that to observe those safety guidelines, and provide notification if a person is afflicted with COVID-19. So if you're a buyer or a buyer's agent and you become ill with the virus, that you agree to notify agents or sellers that properties you have been in. So that's the gist of this. Again, I mean, I've had some questions about this, whether they should or shouldn't use it. It can't hurt. Again, this is really just to set those expectations and ensure everyone is following the same guidelines that the CDC is recommending. The next thing I want to mention, the WRA announced that starting this Thursday, they're going to do weekly legal update live streams. So this Thursday, it'll be from 2 to 2:30. The video link will be coming soon, so we'll be sure to post that. But essentially, this is going to be an open and interactive meeting to distill key business and practice related information that you would need to know during this pandemic. The series is going to feature the WRA legal team addressing the latest business issues, procedures, and programs that you need to know. They're also going to bring in experts from other Wisconsin law firms, government agencies, and the National Association of Realtors also will be featured to provide updates and answer your questions. So just another great opportunity to learn more about how you can, do the best business you can right now during this time. The next piece I want to talk about is just kind of a contract related item. So I've seen a few issues come up over the last couple of weeks with regards to a buyer's financing commitment contingency and what happens if they lose their job after they've already delivered loan commitment. So I want to remind you all of a piece in the offer to purchase. This is taken directly from the new WB11 residential offer to purchase. The condo offer to purchase does state something similar as well. And it's in bold and it says, caution, the delivered loan commitment may contain conditions the buyer must yet satisfy to obligate the lender to provide the loan. Buyer understands delivery of a loan commitment removes the financing commitment contingency from the offer and shifts the risk to the buyer if the loan is not funded. So essentially what this means is if your buyer has delivered loan commitment, they are no longer protected by the financing contingency. If the buyer loses their job, which is typically a condition of the loan commitment, if the buyer loses their job after this loan commitment is delivered, they could potentially be deemed in default. They obviously won't be able to close on the transaction, most likely. So they may have to forfeit their earnest money in order to be released from the contract. So some things to consider with this, if you're writing offers now, consider longer financing contingency deadlines, especially if you're a buyer's agent, a way to protect your buyer. I never like that financing contingency deadline to be right up against the closing date. It's always nice to have a little bit of a few day period in between, but considering these times, maybe making that loan commitment longer so it goes almost right up to the closing date. If you aren't able to, if you're already under contract, you aren't able to extend that loan commitment contingency, you just have to have a conversation with your buyer about, you know, the status of their job, if they feel confident that, you know, this isn't going to be an issue. But if they are having some hesitation as to whether or not they're going to be laid off in the next couple of days before closing, what does that mean if they hold off on delivering loan commitment? So if the buyer doesn't deliver their loan commitment by their financing contingency deadline, the risk is that the seller will have the right to terminate the offer. So the seller has that unilateral decision. So again, going back to what I mentioned when this all started, having that open communication with your co-broke is extremely important. I know I talked to a listing agent yesterday who, again, representing the seller, they haven't received loan commitment from the buyer, but they're not going to terminate the deal over a few day period of waiting for that loan commitment. So just some things to be cognizant of, having that conversation with your buyers, conversations with the buyer's lender. The last piece is that lenders are verifying the employment multiple times throughout the day, multiple times up through the day of closing. So Brian Clute posted something on our Facebook page yesterday, which I think is a really, really important piece of advice. So Charlie, if you want to go to the next slide. He stated that he's strongly encouraging all agents to execute effective immediately, ensuring that your buyers have a go-to resource in their HR department that's available the day before and or the day of closing, who can provide the lender a verbal verification of employment. So lenders are becoming increasingly vigilant about making sure all borrowers are fully employed up to the date and time of closing. He's hearing stories of closings being postponed because the lenders aren't able to obtain that verbal verification at the 11th hour. So going through your existing pipeline of transactions, calling all buyers to obtain the contact information of someone in their HR department who will be available to provide the verification, again, at the last minute. Also work with your buyer's lender to find out when they complete their final verification. So some are doing it the day before closing, some are doing it the day of closing, etc. So those are just some tips and things to think about with regards to the financing and loan commitment. Last piece, just one final, or not final, but another friendly reminder that we are set up to receive earnest money electronically. So really, really simple for your co-brokes to do. Make sure you're communicating with your co-brokes. Easiest way is to put in your private remarks in MLS that buyer is strongly encouraged to deliver earnest money electronically. We'll send out that PDF of our earnest money protocol that you can give to co-brokes of, hey, here's how you do it. It's super easy. So they just need to go into MLS in the documents tab or the details tab, and they'll see that trust funds link right in there. And it's super easy to just select Keller Williams as who's receiving it. And then what's great about it is all parties will receive an email notification when the buyer submits the funds, as well as they're deposited into the trust fund account. So that's all I have for you guys today.
Cool. Thanks, Kimmy. All right, Lindsay, help us round it out. What do we got coming for Tech Tuesdays?
All right, so last week was all about the KW consumer app. So this week I'm going to be talking about the agent site in Command. Now the two go hand in hand, and so you'll notice that the search functionality is all the same. So you can search by neighborhoods, like what I talked about last week. But then for your clients, if they have a saved search or a collection that they did through the app, that's also going to show up on your agent site when they log in. So again, they go hand in hand. It creates that entire consumer experience. The other thing too with searches that they just rolled out is you can now search by landmarks. So again, same search in the app and the website. So you can track all that activity through that contact in Command. And so tech training at 1 o'clock today, I'll be going through setting up the sites, editing, and then doing some custom pages as well.
Cool. Thank you. And yes, we will record it. And then here is a reminder. Here's Lindsay's contact information if you have direct questions or would like some one-on-one help. be on the lookout. Cool. All right, we're going to jump through. I'm actually going to move Amanda to next week in the essence of time. Her and I have connected on that. Mandy, finish it out with us with upcoming training and events.
Sure. So training, we have another full week, launch coaching right after today with Amanda at 10:30. Tomorrow we have Coffee with a Capper series. So we have Corey Bolt on tomorrow at 11 a.m. And then Thursday we have the dynamic duo, Connie and Janine, for productivity coaching. They're going to be going over writing a competitive offer on Thursday morning. And then as always, if you need any tech help, don't forget to jump on to Labs every Friday for a little tech help on whatever issues you might be having. And then just a reminder that all of this is available. We're recording every single training and posting it to the YouTube channel. So go ahead, find it at Keller Williams Milwaukee. If you're having trouble finding it, just shoot me an email. I'll send you the direct link and go ahead and subscribe.
And then just a reminder, some people have seen this and some people haven't, but we recognize there was a bunch of noise going on in the marketplace and people are losing coming soon buyer and open house needs. So we've just made it one KW Milwaukee coming soon page where you can add things to it in terms of upcoming listings, buyer needs, various different tools like that. So be on the lookout for an invite to that, just simply to help us kind of create different channels for what you may need across communication platforms, leveraging our tremendous network of agents that we have across Milwaukee. Cool. And then lastly, I will leave you with this. I know this week we were supposed to have a guest, well, we had 2 guest speakers, but the one that we were originally supposed to have, James Shaw, who leads the National Shift Book Club every day. He's also a MAPS coach, various other, really leads a team at a high level. Is going to be joining us next week for team meeting to talk about various different things that you can do and implement throughout this shift. So James Shaw, who leads the Pivot Shift Facebook page and book club, will be on our group next week. Guys, I wish you all health and happiness. I hope you had a phenomenal Easter. Go out and make it a great day, and we will see you next week, Tuesday. Have a great day, guys.
Thanks, Charlie.
Happy to, Tosh.
Thanks.
Thanks, Charlie.
Peter G., be well.